Hello friends, so welcome back to our next video. So again in advanced analytical problem solving expertise, and as we discussed in our previous video, we are going to start with a defined phase. In defined phase, as we could recall, we define what is the problem, and there are different tools and different steps we just followed to define a given problem. So let's go ahead and understand what we have it in a defined phase. But before we proceed, there are few frequently asked questions I and my team started receiving, from different individuals, different students, professionals. So very quickly on this, so these are the four main questions which we received. And we already talked about it in our very first video, but very quickly on this. So is BRAIT program or BRAIT Apex program valuable for me? And that was the first question from you. Definitely, with your bachelor's and master's degree, or bachelor's or master's degree for that matter, if you learn BRAIT Apex analytical problem solving skill sets, this combination will give you advantage over others in seeking better job opportunities. Besides, 3 globally accredited certificates and BRAIT internship projects on your resume will make you clear winner against the competition. We also received other question like, is BRAIT Apex program costlier? Absolutely not. We don't charge you any fees for the BRAIT Apex program. We already talked about that. After completing the program, if you find it valuable, then please donate us any small amount you can afford for our survival. Means we also got few questions like, do you have a hidden cost and all those? We said we don't have any cost. We are not charging a single penny on this. For our survival, we just request you, if you after completing program, after receiving your certificates, if you find this is useful, valuable, beneficial to you, please remember us by donating a small amount. That's what we are just requesting to everyone. So is our program costlier? Absolutely not. Are there any compulsions, especially time compulsions? Not at all. You can avail this program at any time that suits you. You have free access to all modules for lifetime. So you can learn as many as you can whenever you want. If you want to repeat it, you can repeat it as many times as you want. We have designed the program by keeping your busy works or study schedules. If you are studying somewhere, like, so you have your college lectures, your submissions, your tests, and all those things. If you're working somewhere, you have your 9 to 5 job. For that matter, you have your shifts. You're working in a shifts, right? So we keep all these things in mind, and that's where we came up with this particular program. There is no time compulsion. You can avail it at any time you want. Only urge from our end is, if you could spare half of your breakfast time per day, you can complete entire program in less than 2 months. If you could afford to spare that half of your breakfast time, that too for less than 2 months. And finally, is BRAIT program or BRAIT Apex a complex program? Absolutely not. Many of our program participants are from non-statistical backgrounds, and they never found it difficult. Short and simple videos with examples, case studies, a dramatic storytelling forms of guide projects, and simple MCQs makes it easier to understand. You can very easily pass the evaluation test. Don't worry about that. Not only that, but you also deliver live interactive online sessions where we teach each module again, narrate guide projects, and most importantly, solve your queries live. And you can attend this session based on your timetable. So say, imagine, maybe this week or this month, you're not able to attend it. Maybe next cycle of repetitive sessions, maybe we'll take, say 8 or 10, or maybe for that matter, 10 weeks we take to complete one cycle. And if you'll not be able to attain a given session, in this cycle, you can attend it after 8 to 9 weeks as well, right? So you're going to get your chance to be a part of that live session. Don't worry, and that too based on your own timetable, your own schedule. So that flexibility is there with the database. So let's crack it together. So on that note, let's move ahead. Here we are starting with defined phase, and the very first step of defined phase is diagnose what is the problem. And the tool which we use is operational lever diagnostics. Please do remember, when we deploy DMAC, define, measure, analyze, improve, and control, it comes through a sequence of steps, a logical sequence of steps. So if you could remember those steps, very easily you can keep on continuing on deploying a successful project. And that is why we decided to just revise it, based on this kind of a table. So right now we are on a very first step number 1, diagnosing what is the problem. And that's the ultimate goal of define phase. So as we kept on saying, define phase, here we try to find out what is the problem. The very first step, problem identification and prioritization. So business diagnostics or problem prioritization, we can do it through 2 different tools. One is operational lever diagnostics. Lever means metrics, measurement metrics which you use. That is called levers, business levers, normally we do call it. So operational levers diagnostics is the first tool, and second one is FMEA, that is failure mode effect analysis. So we're going to look into these 2 tools in details. Next slide, please. Right, so business diagnostics and problem prioritization, operational lever diagnostics. And we talked about the word levers. You might find this word a bit new over here, but in business world, we do call it levers as well. So metrics, we normally can replace the word metrics with levers. So this is operational levers diagnostics. Right. So imagine the situation that you as a Greenbelt project leader, you're sitting with the business manager or operational manager, and he do have his TL around, right? And since you need to start understanding what is the problem, right? And that's the very first step we do have. So we are going to do the diagnostics. Now, what is diagnostics? We're going to ask few questions to them and trying to figure out the important problems to work around. And how to do that? We're going to look now into this particular module or this particular video. We're going to look into it, right? So imagine the very first question you're going to ask is, what are different metrics you are maintaining? So many of the companies, to be very honest, they do maintain different metrics, like to somehow understand what is happening at a ground level. Senior management always want their managers to talk in terms of metrics. So like productivity, your quality is not a metric, then processing time is not a metric, and you need to just keep on showcasing to the senior management that how ground level performances, day-to-day operations are running, and senior management can evaluate ground level performance based on these metrics, right? So many companies do maintain, or for that matter, every single company do maintain the metrics. They might be maintaining it into hard copies, like on a paper, maybe in a spreadsheet, or maybe in a software. But companies do maintain it. So the very first question you got to ask is, what are different metrics you're maintaining? So you haven't asked what are different problems you're having here. All you're asking is, what are different metrics you're maintaining. So slowly, you're going to get into those metrics and trying to find out, is there any problem? And then you are going to evaluate that situation. It's not they are going to come up with the problem. You're going to evaluate and then showcase to them, okay, these are the areas where we can initiate improvement project based on Six Sigma implementations. So very first question, what are different metrics you do maintain? So you can see this particular template which you can use. So very first column is what are different metrics we do maintain. So imagine the company is maintaining metrics across different areas like quality management, then productivity management, then complaint management, safety management, then warranty management, and they might be maintaining a few other metrics as well, right? So these are the areas, and in that area, so for quality management, under quality management, they're maintaining percentage defective is one of the metrics. Another metric they can maintain or they are maintaining is percentage scrap. Um, a third, this is a hypothetical case, right? We are, as we mentioned, that we are going to take case as well. So as and when we keep on going through different phases, we'll also simultaneously parallelly go with one case study, right? So that you will be able to understand it or you will be able to connect it, the concept with real life scenarios. So this is a real life scenario. You as a Six Sigma green belt is talking to the managers, and these are the metrics. In fact, you ask the question, what are the metrics you are maintaining? And this is the answers they gave to you. And you just typed it into that template. This is what, just imagine the given scenario. So percentage defectives, percentage scrap, percentage rework, percentage yield, total processing time per unit. You can see 480 divided by number of units produced. So 480 is typical available time in a given shift divided by total number of units produced. So that will help us understand total processing time per unit. So that's about the total processing time per unit. The number of complaints, the number of accidental incidences, then percentage warranty cost per monthly operational cost, and there might be a few other metrics as well, right? So these are the metrics. This is the answer you received for a question number one. Let's go to question number two. So once you ask the very first question, what are different metrics you are maintaining? A very next logical question will be how frequently you are maintaining it. So how frequently you are maintaining given metric. So do you maintain it based on time span basis or unit basis? Now what is that? Let's understand it. So on time span basis is like, shift wise, whether you are maintaining given metric shift wise. So quality per shift or quality per day for that matter, number of complaints per week for that matter, a number of accidents per month for that matter. So your denominator is time span. You have, this is the ratio. You have a numerator and denominator. At denominator, you have a time span. So that is how you maintain few of the metrics. Example as given over here is productivity per shift, percentage scrap rate per day, number of accidents per week. This is one way to maintain the metric. Another way is unit basis. On the basis of unit to produce, you maintain few metrics like quality per unit. There is a possibility that few companies do maintain quality per shift, or few companies do maintain quality per given unit as well. Second metric could be time to resolve complaint per transaction. So we call it TTR in software and IT sector. This is one of the very important metric, TTR. So time to resolve complaints per transaction. What is the time we do take to resolve complaints from the clients in? So that is time to resolve complaints per transaction. Or another metric could be turnaround time, TAT is another metric, right? So which we do normally maintain on transaction basis, for a one given transaction, one given unit basis. So these are the two different ways companies can maintain the metrics. So it could be on time span basis, or it could be on a unit basis. So that is question number two. So let's add the details for a given case in a template. So imagine this is what you added, right? So percentage defective, a given company to maintain it on a shift-wise basis, percentage scrap as well, shift-wise basis, percentage rework, shift-wise basis, percentage yield, shift-wise basis, total processing time per unit, of course, shift wise, because 480 minutes are time span of the given shift only. But number of complaints this given company do maintain it on a weekly basis. There might be few other companies who maintain number of complaints on a monthly basis, or there might be few other companies who maintain number of complaints on a daily basis. So here they are maintaining it on a weekly basis. Number of unfortunately accidental incidences are on a weekly basis. So number of accidents per week, number of complaints per week, percentage yield per shift, percentage rework per shift, percentage scrap per shift, percentage defectives per shift. Likewise, you're maintaining it. So that's about the frequency or how you're maintaining a given metric. Let's go to the next slide. Right. So now the next question. So we had the first two questions we asked to them about different metrics they are maintaining it and how are they maintaining the metrics. The next question is, what is the target or compliance limit of those metrics? So if you are maintaining certain metrics and you also know how frequently you are maintaining the metrics, right? So that those metrics must be having certain target line. Otherwise, metrics are useless if the metrics don't have some target line, right? So they must, when they are maintaining the metrics, they must be having a target or compliance limit for those metrics. So the very next question which we are going to ask to them is, what is the target or compliance limit of those metrics? Let's go to next slide. Right. So you asked this question and you had a word with them, you got these details, and you just put forward these details into the next column, the column highlighted over here. So for example, for defective, when you're maintaining it shift-wise basis, means percentage defective per shift, your target per shift is 3%. So there shouldn't be more than 3% of the defectives in a given shift. That's the target given for that metric, which is percentage defective. Likewise, for percentage yield, the metric is 95%. So every single shift, when you're maintaining the yield per shift should be 95%, not less than that. It should be more than that, shouldn't be less than that, right? So likewise, you kept on asking these questions and you kept on jotting down these details about the question. What is the target you set for a given metric? Either you set it, or for that matter, client set it. Mostly even you can use industrial benchmarks as well. But normally, operational manager always used to have their targets with them for each given metric or each given lever. So let's go to the next slide. Right. So we are done with the first three questions. Now we are moving to the next question. However, before we ask to the next question, here we have certain sort of bifurcations. We do maintain some data, some metrics on a shift-wise basis, some metrics on a unit-wise basis, right? When a few metrics even on a daily basis for that matter, right? So let's segregate it and ask a specific question for a specific type of metric. So question number 4, it is easy, it's not difficult. Just once you just go through it, you'll understand it, how easier it is. And I'm sure you'll enjoy this diagnostic phase when you do it in the real life case. So in last 3 months, out of total number of shifts you work, right? So you, for a given metric, which you maintain it on a shift-wise basis, your fourth question, question number 4 would be, in last 3 months, out of total number of shifts you worked, how many shifts are not meeting target set, for that given metric? That's the fourth question. Let me repeat the question. Question is for those metrics which you maintain on a shift-wise basis. So the question is, in last 3 months, out of total number of shifts you worked, how many shifts are not meeting target of a given metric? So let's go to the next slide. That was for a shift-wise basis, the metric which you maintain it for a shift-wise basis. What about the metrics which you maintain on a day-wise basis? So here, your question would be, in last 3 months, out of total number of days, in a previous version, we had total number of shifts. But now here we are talking about that metric which you maintain on a daily basis. And that is why your question will be little changed here. We're going to ask the question, in last 3 months, out of total number of days you work, how many days are not meeting target of a given metric? That is the question number 4 for those metrics which we maintain on a day-wise basis. Maintain means we collect the data on a day-wise basis. So operations or operation manager every single day, do collect certain data. For a daily basis metric, by the end of day, we collect the details of that metric. And if he's maintaining a given metric on a shift-wise basis, after every shift, supervisor need to share the details of a given metric with the manager. This is how the normal practice or day-to-day practice in almost every single organization. Because the manager need to compile all these details and need to showcase it to the senior manager in review meetings with the senior managers, right? So they normally do have a review meetings once in a month, for that matter, once in 15 days. And for that sake, we got to collate all these details almost on a daily basis, right? So that's about question number 4. Let's come back to this. So what about if I do maintain a few metrics on a unit-wise basis, like number of, time to resolve complaints, right, per transaction, or turnaround time, TAT, or quality per unit, right? So if my organization is maintaining, the metric per unit basis, what to do in that case? So let's understand it, how we're going to do the things in that case. So first, take average of given metric for every shift you worked in last 3 months. So all we need to do is, we need to ask them, you're not supposed to do this, managers, operation manager, they will, or assistant manager and supervisor will do it, right? So our job is to be a facilitator. Your job is to be the facilitator. So you're going to tell them, okay, if you're maintaining a given metric, say quality per unit, you're maintaining it per unit basis. So you're going to ask them, for every given shift in last 3 months, whatever units you produce or whatever quality scores you have per unit basis, please take an average of quality for a given shift. So first, take average of a given metric for every shift you worked in last 3 months. So if you're maintaining it, say quality per unit, you're going to take average of quality for a given shift number 1. Then next shift, if you produce say 100 units or say 120 units, right? So each unit do have its own quality scores. We'll take an average of quality for all those 120 units, and then that would be the quality score for a given shift. Managers normally can do it in a minute's time. It will not be a difficult thing for them. Or perhaps even they are maintaining any given metric per unit basis, they must be maintaining it at average shift wise details as well, right? So you got to get those details. Once we get those details, then check out of total number of shifts you work, how many shifts are not meeting target of a given metric, as simple as that. So average of a given shift of a given metric, say quality here in this case, right? So we're going to see, okay, average quality is say 94% for a given shift number 1, shift number 2, 95%, shift number 3, 97%, shift number 4, that is next day's shift, will be 92%, and my target is 95%. So whichever shift I score, or whichever shift the average quality score is less than 95%, is obviously going to be a non-compliant shift, as simple as that. So let's take an example. We mentioned the example over here. If you maintain a metric of a quality per unit, and say if target is 95%, then take the average quality score of total number of units produced in a given shift. Do it for all shifts you work in 3 months. This is what they are going to do it. Don't worry. Manager, assistant manager will do it in a fractions of the second, to be very honest. And then once you got these details, cross-check how many of those shifts are not meeting target of 95%. This information, they will pull it. Don't worry about it. They'll just do some number crunching and they'll show you the numbers as well, right? So this is for the unit-wise basis metrics, the metrics which you maintain per unit basis. So these are the three or I would say the three segregations are for question number 4. If you're having a metric which you maintain on a shift-wise basis, you have a different question. Then if you're maintaining it for a day-wise basis, a different question. And if you're maintaining it a unit-wise basis, you got to make some adjustment and come up with the average score of a given metric for a given shift, and then proceed it further. So let's see the example. So once you have all these details, you're going to collect these details over here. So say percentage defective is a metric, you're maintaining it on a shift-wise basis. So how many number of shifts you worked in last 3 months? Say 234 shifts. Roughly they work for 234 shifts. These details also they will get it from the manager, because you are in talk with them, you are asking the question to them, and they are giving you the answers over here. So 234 shifts they work, and out of 234 shifts, 48 shifts are non-compliant to the given target. So it means in case of percentage defective, that's our first row, first metric, 48 shifts were there out of 134 shifts where percentage defective were higher than 3% of the target value or 3% of the compliance value. In case of scrap, when target was not beyond 2%, up to 2% or maximum 2%, there were 42 shifts out of 234 shifts where percentage scrap for a given shift is relatively higher than a given target. So that's about understanding the non-compliance. Let's move to the next slide. Right. So we are halfway through with the operational lever diagnostics. So we'll do one thing, we'll just stop over here right now and we'll continue with operational lever diagnostics in the next video. Why we are doing it, why we are cutting the sessions in between, because we are planning not to extend the timeline or time limit or duration of our videos beyond 25 to 30 minutes. Because that will not help you to understand, or it's easier to understand any video if you'll have the duration lesser. So short, simple, and sweet. So on that note, thank you so very much for your time. But before we stop over here, let's go to the next slides and thank those technology companies for their support. We deeply appreciate following technology companies for their technological support. Thanks to you all as well for being a part of this video, for going through this video. So we'll just meet again in the next video where we'll continue with operational lever diagnostics. Thank you so very much.